On March 15, 2015, HBO's documentary miniseries, The Jinx, aired its final episode and drew over 1 million viewers. Although the series was a hit from the start, the ratings for the final episode represented a roughly 80% jump from the previous week. Why? Word had spread online that the enigmatic, twitchy subject of the series, Robert Durst, had been arrested for murder, and the warrant had resulted from something in the show itself, a show that grew from Durst's own idea to clear his name. Durst had long been suspected of murder. 3 of them, actually, but all the evidence against him was considered circumstantial. After years of being demonized by prosecutors and the press, how could an effort by Durst to finally tell his side of the story end up potentially getting him incarcerated? This is the story of Robert Durst. Robert Durst was born in 1943, the eldest son in a family dynasty that ran one of the most powerful real estate firms in New York City. His troubles started early. When he was 7, Robert claims to have witnessed his mother standing on the edge of the roof of the family home moments before her fatal fall. Back then, authorities ruled her death an accident, but journalists say the family privately acknowledges her death as a suicide. However, Durst's account of the situation was disputed by his brother, Douglas Durst, who said none of the children witnessed the event. This wouldn't be the last time Robert Durst was accused of lying about someone's death. Durst saw a psychiatrist after the event, and the doctor's report said Robert showed signs of personality decomposition and possibly even schizophrenia. High school classmates described him as a loner, but Durst managed to make a few select friends, and in April of 1973, married Kathleen McCormick. According to Durst, it wasn't a model marriage. He admitted that their relationship gradually got worse over the years, reaching new lows after he wanted her to get an abortion, which she did. Durst said that their confrontations ran the gamut from yelling to physical altercations, but the worst was yet to come. McCormick disappeared in early 1982, during her 4th and final year at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine in the Bronx. She was last seen leaving a friend's dinner party in Connecticut on January 31st, where she said she was heading back home to the cottage that she and Durst shared in South Salem. Durst said that they had an argument that got physical. Then he drove her to a train station so she could return to their Riverside Drive apartment in Manhattan. Durst originally stated that he called and confirmed she had arrived at the apartment, but years later, Durst said that call never took place. Durst reported her missing a few days after her disappearance. It was later discovered that before she disappeared, McCormick was treated at a Bronx hospital for facial bruises. Reports say she told a friend that Durst had beat her, but she did not press charges. Reports also indicate that McCormick had asked Durst for a $250,000 divorce settlement, but that he had instead canceled her credit card, removed her name from the joint bank account, and stopped paying her tuition. Some of Durst's statements about his wife's disappearance were later deemed inaccurate. For example, Durst said that after he dropped her off at the train station, he stopped at a neighbor's to have a drink. The neighbor denied this, and so did Durst many years later. Still, the police never found any evidence of wrongdoing. And although some believe Durst killed his wife the night of January 31st at the cottage, police seemingly validated a call by McCormick to her medical school the following day where she said she was feeling ill. For years, the case had remained unsolved. Durst was once again adjacent to tragedy in late 2000 when his friend Susan Berman was found dead in her Benedict Canyon home in Los Angeles. Berman, daughter of renowned Vegas gangster David Berman, was a longtime friend of Durst. Investigators, witnesses, and Berman's friends say she knew some of Durst's secrets and even acted as an accomplice in covering up the disappearance of Kathleen McCormick. investigators say it was possibly Berman who made that critical phone call to the medical school, posing as McCormick, which not only delayed the search for McCormick, but shifted the investigation area away from Durst's Connecticut home to New York City. Sources say Berman also helped manage Durst's interviews with the media in the days after McCormick's disappearance, going as far as to plant false clues in the narrative. Berman was killed by a gunshot to the back of the head, execution style. There was no sign of forced entry, so it's likely she knew the killer. A few days later, the Beverly Hills Police Department retrieved a handwritten note containing Berman's address and the word cadaver. On the note, Beverly was misspelled with an extra E in Beverly. Evidence reveals that Durst was in Northern California around the same time and flew back to New York the night before police found Berman's body. Records also show that Durst had recently sent Berman $50,000. In a later deposition, Durst said Berman called him shortly before she died and said the LAPD wanted to talk to her about McCormick's disappearance. Despite journalists casting doubt that the LAPD had contacted Berman at all, later prosecutors would assert that Durst killed Berman to prevent her from finally telling authorities everything she knew about McCormick. Others believe Durst killed Berman because she was blackmailing him, though correspondence between the two seems to disprove that theory. At the time of Berman's death, authorities found no evidence placing Durst in Los Angeles at the time of her death, so any case against him would once again be circumstantial. Now the story gets really odd. About a year later, in October 2001, police arrested Durst in Galveston after pieces of a dismembered elderly man, Morris Black, were found in Galveston Bay. Authorities discovered that Durst was renting a cheap room in Galveston and was Black's neighbor, and they found blood and floor marks in Durst's apartment consistent with Black's death. They also discovered that whenever Durst visited Galveston, he dressed as a woman and pretended to be mute. Durst later said it was the first disguise he thought of, since he was a man and anyone looking for him wouldn't think twice about a woman who didn't speak. In recent years, police have said Durst killed Black after the neighbor discovered Durst's identity and that Durst was hiding out in Galveston after the Berman killing. Durst was released on a $300,000 bail, then missed a court hearing. Authorities couldn't find Durst, and an arrest warrant was issued on the charge of jumping bail. And a month later, Durst was approached by a security personnel at a Wegmans supermarket in Pennsylvania after he shoplifted Band-Aids, a newspaper, and a chicken salad sandwich, despite having $500 in his pocket. This is how Durst was apprehended the first time. Authorities also found in Durst's car $37,000 in cash, 2 guns, and Morris Black's driver's license. Durst was extradited back to Texas to stand trial for the murder of Morris Black, which eventually commenced in 2003. Durst's defense team hired a psychiatrist who spent more than 70 hours examining Durst before diagnosing him with Asperger's syndrome. One of Durst's lawyers said the Asperger's diagnosis would explain some of the inappropriate behavior that Bob went through. During the trial, Durst claimed self-defense, saying Black took Durst's pistol from its hiding place and threatened Durst, leading to a physical struggle where the pistol discharged accidentally, shooting Black in the face. Because Black's head was never recovered, prosecutors could not disprove Durst's account of the struggle, and the jury acquitted him of murder. However, Durst did admit to using a paring knife, 2 saws, and an axe to dismember Black's body before dumping the remains into the bay. According to Durst, he dumped the remains because he didn't think anyone would believe him after the suspicious circumstances behind McCormick's disappearance and Berman's death. A year later, Durst pleaded guilty to 2 counts of bail jumping and 1 count of evidence tampering for dismembering Black's body. Durst received 5 years in prison, but was given credit for time served. He was paroled in January 2005. In 2010, the film All Good Things, starring Ryan Gosling and Kirsten Dunst, was released. It was inspired by the life of Robert Durst and the disappearance of Kathleen McCormick, although their names were changed for the film. Durst professed admiration for the film and contacted the director, Andrew Jarecki. After years of not cooperating with journalists, Durst granted Jarecki exclusive interviews to finally give his side of the story. Durst ultimately sat with Jarecki for more than 20 hours over a period of several years, and also gave the director unrestricted access to personal records. The interviews became the backbone of HBO's The Jinx. The miniseries covered the disappearance of McCormick and the killing of Berman and Black, all interspersed with Durst's own comments about each crime and his claims of innocence. The biggest development unearthed by the miniseries was a 1999 letter from Durst to Berman that was found by her stepson. It featured block-lettered handwriting very similar to the note Beverly Hills police received in 2000 that directed them to find her body. The letter also misspelled Beverly in the exact same way as the note to police. Durst himself had previously said only the murderer could have written the note. In the final episode of the series, the director confronted Durst with both writings. Durst admitted that the handwriting looked similar and that the misspelling was the exact same. However, he maintained that while he did write the letter found by the stepson, he did not write the note to police. Immediately after the interview, Durst started talking to himself in a nearby bathroom without realizing that his mic was still on. He could be heard saying phrases like, "There it is, you're caught," and "What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course." While a full transcript of Durst's comments later revealed that the order of his statements was changed by the filmmakers for dramatic effect, he still appeared to incriminate himself when he thought no one was listening. This was how Durst was apprehended the second time. On the day the show's finale aired, he was arrested in New Orleans on a first-degree murder warrant obtained by the LAPD in connection to Berman's death. According to reports, the 1999 letter unearthed by the Jinx provided key new evidence that led to the filing of the murder charges. After several delays of the formal trial, Durst's lawyers filed court documents in 2019 admitting Durst did write the note to Beverly Hills police telling them to find Berman's body, despite his previous denials. And, according to the prosecution, Susan Berman had indeed told friends and associates she was the alibi for Durst when McCormick disappeared. Durst's friend, Nick Chauvin, also testified that Durst had confessed to killing Berman, allegedly saying, "I had to. It was her or me." Concordantly, in May 2021, Westchester County, New York District Attorney Mimi Rocha said that Kathleen McCormick's disappearance has been reclassified as a murder and would be re-investigated. On August 16, 2021, Durst took the stand in his own defense in the Berman case, saying he discovered Berman when she was already dead and then wrote the note so police would find her. He said he originally lied about writing the note because it would make him look guilty. Durst even explained away his comments in the bathroom while filming The Jinx. "What I did not say out loud, or perhaps I said very softly, is, 'They'll all think I killed them all, of course.'" Durst also said he has lied under oath before and would do so again to get out of trouble. On Friday, September 17, 2021, Robert Durst was convicted of first-degree murder in the case of Susan Berman and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. However, Durst was not present at the reading of the verdict as he was being isolated for COVID-19 exposure. Then, on November 1, 2021, a grand jury in New York also indicted Robert Durst for second-degree murder of his wife, Kathy McCormick Durst. However, Robert Durst never stood trial for his crime, as he died of natural causes only 2 months later on January 10, 2022. Though McCormick's family may never see justice for her murder, Robert Durst's death finally marked an end to a bizarre chronicle of crime that spanned several decades and commanded America's undivided attention.